You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 16th meeting of the LaPorte County Election Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Green lights on. I'm going to call to order the LaPorte County Election Board for February 16th, 2024. We'll do a quick roll call. Brody Schaffner.
Here.
Teresa Massa.
Here.
Heather Stevens, present. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to swap this out a little bit, and we are going to elect the president of the board. So we'll do that now, and I'll start by making a motion to elect Brody Schaffner.
I will second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now I'm going to move.
Everyone could please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Actually, could we amend it?
All right. You have a motion to amend.
Motion to amend, please.
And what is your amendment?
Under the approval of minutes, I would like to introduce a proxy. And in new business, I'd like to add what came down from the Supreme Court about the John Rust versus Diego Morales case yesterday. And we also have a quick signing of something called an IEC 22.
All right. Is there a second for that motion?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. That is approved. Can I have approval of the minutes, please? Well, let me ask this. Is there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, those are approved.
Excellent.
It's time for public comment. You have anything to say? Please step forward. Public comment on Zoom. All right. We don't have Zoom. Hearing none. We are moving on. We do not have any old business. Oh, I'm sorry. Introduce your proxy, please.
Okay. So as we know, I am up for, I'm on the ballot this year, so I think that there are going to be times that it may be inappropriate for me to vote. So with that being said, not because I'm afraid of a tough vote, but I just think I find it more appropriate that I name a proxy, and I have done so. Her name is Katie Bowen, and Katie is here today. And she has been sworn in, so we are ready to go.
Sure. Very good. No old business. New business. Resolution to allow opposed candidates for precinct committee delegates to work as poll workers.
This is something that it was discussed at the clerks convention, at the Indiana Election Divisions conference, and again at the legislative conference amongst the clerks. We can allow an opposed candidate for precinct committeeman or delegate to work as a poll worker, but it must be unanimous by this board.
For each individual case or just as a general matter?
In general.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
No.
Neither do I.
I also think we should maybe introduce Teresa.
Oh, yes. I missed that part. Teresa, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Teresa Massa, and I have lived in LaPorte County since 2020. I am a retired attorney, and I'm very interested and excited to work with this board this year.
Thanks. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Back to the resolution. Do you have a draft of that, or is it just a consensus that we want to do that moving forward.
I'm happy to create a draft. It's one of those things. We can't discuss these things outside of these public meetings, so you guys weren't even aware of it. So I didn't want to type up a draft if,
Sure.
if nobody's for it, so.
I don't have a problem with it, and entertain a motion to that effect.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. I'll get the draft done.
Okay. Complaint filed regarding possible campaign finance violations against the Democratic Civic Club of LaPorte County. Where is that complaint? So do we have Mr. Logwood? Where are you? If you'd like to step forward, please. And raise your right hand. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Absolutely.
And what's your name for the record?
Full name is Gautama Octavius Logwood.
And you filed a complaint as well as a brief, and I appreciate that. Why don't you tell us briefly why you came forward?
I've been on hiatus from politics for about 12 years. Decided, due to, watching the Democratic cause seem to fall by the wayside, they needed some help. So I joined up with the Civic Club about a year ago. Once I got there, realized they needed some help. I became the media director pretty quickly, and which got us an online presence and a social media presence. Also became membership director. During that course of that last year, I think we doubled the membership of the group. During the course of the year, starting in about April, May, once we got an active website, I began questioning, hey, can we look at doing Act Blue? And if you're not familiar with Act Blue is an online donation platform that political bodies can use on their Facebook pages, and I believe on Facebook it's referred to as chipped in. On web-based platforms, it's considered it's Act Blue, and in order to get that, you would need a TID or an EIN, either from the state or from the federal government, respectively. And I began to ask for those things and got nowhere with it. Couldn't find it anywhere. And then a couple months later in June was the golf outing. And I think I solicited probably about $2,000 worth of membership, fundraising for the golf outing. The golf outing, I think, turned in the neighborhood of $9,000 last year, brought into the club. Would have had $400 more, but I had a corporate sponsor that needed a W-9. When I asked leadership for a W-9, which would require an EIN and a TID, that fell on deaf ears, and was told that in order to provide that, it would cause great pain. Those are the exact words, great pain. I was a little befuddled, a little confused, but still moved on. A little dismayed that we missed out on a $400 opportunity. Sometime about early fall is when it really became obvious to me that we had a issue with our campaign finance reporting. And that's when it became that, I just kept hitting brick walls with leadership of the club. Because again, the Act Blue came back up, and why are we foregoing these opportunities to fundraise? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And then I was also asked to be the co-chair of the golf outing this year. And in that conversation, I had said to the chair of the golf outing and treasurer of the club, I've put on golf outings before. I'm familiar with those. What I am unfamiliar with is the campaign finance reporting for a golf outing, and that's what I would need to pay particular attention to learn from. And his response was, well, when it comes time, we'll sit down and go over it together.
And when you say his, who are you referring to? That
would be Jim Kimmel. He's the treasurer of the club. And longstanding chairman of the golf outing as well. So at some point I figured we would do that. So as we moved closer to campaign filing in October, nothing was ever said about it. I brought it up again. And, towards that time, I started to getting pushback in the terms of some pretty flagrantly personal attacks in email. I did not provide those to you. They are embarrassing to me and to the parties that sent them. If you want them, I can get them to you. I would like them to remain confidential if possible. And at that point, I just figured there's just no joy in trying to fix this. And that's when I emailed Heather at the clerk's office for the CF forms for the club to see if we had filed there. We had not. I also went online to check the TID status, see if we were registered with the Secretary of State, and do have a business ID number there, and they are not and have not been for over 35 years. At that point, just to cover my butt, I went ahead and did the filing with the Secretary of State and the federal government to obtain an EIN number, which I did give to the club in December at the meeting when I basically walked in, waited for the meeting to start under the Treasury's report, let them know this stuff, and walked out of the meeting and did not renew my dues. If you look at page 63 of the 2024 Campaign Finance of Indiana, it begins to describe the auxiliary club status versus the threshold where you have to start reporting was $5,000. That club has put on a golf outing for in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 years. Ever since that golf outing has been going, it should have been filing campaign finance reports, and the name should have been changed. I don't believe they can be a political action committee with the name civic in the club. I think they would have to be a 501c4 in that case. But they should. One of two things should have happened at the time when that golf outing began, which is they should have filed for 990s with a corporate status, or a CF begins filing CF forms as a political action committee. In either case, neither one of those has happened for somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 years. At the time when I left the club in December, they have a budget operating of somewhere in the neighborhood of $17,000 to $18,000. That's considerably above the $5,000 threshold. One of the other requirements is they cannot give more than $1,000 to a candidate. That has happened numerous times in the last, and I only researched candidate filing forms back to 2022, and I believe there's at least 4 to 5 violations of that in there. And there's I'm a little confused on the statute if that $1,000 is cumulative or a single donation. If it is cumulative, then they are considerably above the threshold. And in either case, it was something that I didn't want to be a part of. On a personal note, after bringing 40 people into a club, contributing somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 2,000 myself, and soliciting another 2,000, it's a bit embarrassing to know that you have dark money there. The only reason why I was able to find out that this filing, that this was, the only way anybody on the outside would see what was going on is to pull campaign finance reports of the candidates that were given money, or to get a paper copy of a treasurer's report at a meeting. Luckily, we have some honest candidates that put that on their campaign filing form, but you can see the money out, but you don't see the money in. And if there are candidates that did not put that on their campaign finance report, we have no record of where that money went, or what it did, or where it came from, or anything else. In the day and age where everybody's worried about where money is coming and going from a political party, I would think this would have been of utmost importance and caught at some point in 10 to 12 years. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, if that's okay. I have a couple questions about the EIN. Mm-hmm. My belief is that you can't have a bank account without an EIN, and this group does have a bank account, right?
I have never seen a bank statement. I don't know if the numbers on the sheet that I presented to you are valid.
Okay.
My recommendation to this governing body at this point for scrutiny and for vetting is to request bank statements and go back a few years and see what is in the account and what's going back. I have never seen those. I can tell you formally, when I was in the club prior to 2011, when I was a president, by the way, there was a, and I joined the club in '99. And George DeMeyer, bless his heart, he has passed away now. He was old in '99, and he was there until 2011. I'm sure I don't know how much longer he went after that, but in meetings he was the treasurer, and when he would give a report at that time, he would always present copies of receipts, bank statements, and that sort of thing. He would come in with photocopies. That never happened in the whole year I was in that club.
So at least in that period of time, they did have a bank account. Is that right?
In that period of time, they did have a bank account, and what I don't know this for certain, but I do know at that time they did operate under a auxiliary club status, because at that time we were not, and we knew you can't go over the $5,000 threshold, and I think the operating budget at that time was usually averaged between $2,000-3,000. And in that case, that would be similar to like the photography club at the high school. They can go down and get a bank account, I believe. Probably the treasurer's social security number would be sufficient. I don't know. But, at this case, I don't know anything about that. I'm turning that over to you guys as proper channels to vet this.
So back in December, I think you said, when you requested and you filed paperwork to get an EIN,
Yeah.
did you have the club's authority to do that?
No, I did not have, I didn't have time to go before the club. It was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm handing this off as I leave out the door because I don't want any semblance of impropriety.
You have any more? No. Okay. When did you leave the Civic Club? You said 2011?
Originally, I didn't renew my dues after 2011, but then I came back at the beginning of 2023, and I've not re-upped my dues.
Do you recall where they banked at that time?
No. I don't know where they bank at now. I've never seen a statement.
Okay.
And back to the last question, I did inform, like I said, we've had multiple email exchanges over this, and it was just brushed off and that sort of thing. So it wasn't as if leadership wasn't in the know on what was going on here.
Okay. You have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else was notified for this complaint? Was the Civic Club notified?
No, nothing happens until this board discusses it
Okay.
first. So.
Is there anyone here on behalf of the Civic Club who would like to speak? All right. I have an idea of what I want to do. The statute says that this board has subpoena powers. I would like to move forward with that. However, the way I read the statute is it's the board, not just any one member. So with that, I would make a motion that we subpoena the financial records of this organization going back to 2011.
Do we want the treasurer? Do we want the treasurer here as well?
Yes, and so that's part of my second suggestion is that we table this until we get those records, and then we have another meeting where the Civic Club is notified.
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will draft a subpoena and then send it to Taylor, and you can send it to the sheriff. Thank you. Okay. Late campaign finance forms.
Sheila, do you want to come up to the microphone here? Or I guess they could hear you right there if you turn your mic on.
Taylor, can you introduce yourself and who you are?
I am Taylor Van Sickle. I am the election deputy for the election board.
Okay. And have a stack of papers here. You want to explain what's going on?
Yes. So the the first page should be 2024 candidates without CFA 1. If it's not.
Is that the one that...
It's got purple.
Please.
Sorry.
This is the easiest thing to get through first, and then.
There's a ream of paper here. Okay.
Just given to you.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right.
Okay, so these are all of the 2024 candidates that are county or county positions, and they were supposed to turn in a CFA 1 to me by today. I have 3 that did not, and those are highlighted in orange.
Okay.
So I believe if they have not created a committee, then we or you will need to create a committee for them, for each one, correct? I believe.
I believe that's something Taylor and I can do in the
Yeah.
office.
Okay.
Okay, so that's just so you're aware of that. The sheet that's highlighted in orange, so I keep a spreadsheet of all the campaign finance forms for each year. I have highlighted in orange anybody that was late. So you'll notice it's really small, so I apologize. But under annual and final, the deadline was 1/17/24 at noon. So if they were late, I highlighted in orange, and you'll see that date. We have, if they turned it in on the 17th, we have to timestamp them. So we write what time they turn it in. If they were late after the noon deadline, there is a time written next to their orange highlight.
Okay.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Taylor, was the courthouse closed? What the deadline was?
The 17th, the courthouse was closed on the 19th.
Okay. Okay.
So if they didn't turn it in the 17th, it was late,
At noon.
and you guys were open.
Correct.
Okay.
And everybody that is on this list did receive a letter mailed to their house from me 30 days prior, letting them know that this deadline was January 17th at noon.
All right. Well, I warned everybody last year. Indiana Code 3-9-4-16, delinquent report or statement, $50 a day, up to $1,000. I fully intend on enforcing every bit of that. So long as my members are with me on that. So, should we just go down the list and decide?
Sure. This is going to be the same across the board, correct? We're not going to penalize one person more than somebody else, or
I don't intend to.
okay.
Sean Fitzpatrick, filing date 2/2. I need to pull up a calendar. So the statute says that delinquent reporter statement, the afternoon of the final date for the filing, so the 17th in the afternoon, is calculated as the first day. So everyone's aware. So the 17th would be one day. Now I have to do some math. 17th was a Wednesday. So we got 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Because he filed it on the 2nd. So that'd be 16 days.
And $50 a day.
Yes.
It's $800.
Mike Schultz, you refer to the statute, but you're only reading excerpts from the statute of your interpretation. Could you read the full statute so we can understand what is in the full statute without the commentary of how you believe it is?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which part? You want the subsection or the?
I want the part where it talks about that the board has the authority. I don't know if it says may, shall, whatever it says in there, but that's what I'm asking, that where the authority lies
Sure.
and how it's to be applied. Thank you.
Yes, sir. This subsection applies to a person who is subject to a civil penalty under subsection A1 or A2 for a delinquent report or statement. If the commission, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. This subsection applies to a person who is subject to a civil penalty under subsection A1 or A2 for a delinquent report or statement. If the county election board determines that a person failed to file the report or statement of organization by the deadline prescribed under this article, the board shall assess a civil penalty. The penalty is $50 for each day the report is late, with the afternoon of the final date for filing the report or statement being calculated as the first day. The civil penalty under this subsection may not exceed $1,000 plus any investigative costs incurred and documented by the board. The civil penalty limit under this subsection applies to each report separately. Subsection A1 fails to file with the county election board a report in the manner required under Indiana Code 3-9-5. A2 fails to file a statement of organization required under Indiana Code 3-9-1. Are these required under 3-9-5? This report, campaign finance.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So, what did we calculate?
For Mr. Fitzpatrick, that was $800. You said that was
16 days.
16 days.
Maybe we should. Would the board prefer to do a motion for each one or all together after everything's calculated?
I would say together after everything is calculated, and we'll be happy to show the work.
Okay, so we have 16 days at $800. Elizabeth, is it Bergeron? Bergeron. Filing date 1/17 at 1:38 p.m. That's 1 day since it's in the afternoon, $50. Denise Ebert.
She still has not turned one in.
Okay, I cannot vote on this one. I am the attorney for Wanata,
Okay.
so I have to remove
Okay.
myself from that one.
How many days was that?
She hasn't
She
filed
hasn't
one.
filed it yet.
She hasn't filed it yet.
Has it been more than 20 days?
Yes.
So it would be
So that's a $1,000 fine.
That was a maximum.
Rodney McCormick Sr., February 5th. So if Sean Fitzpatrick was 16, the third would be 17, 18, 19. So 19 for him. That's $950. David Whitfield, no filing.
No filing, and he never paid the initial fine either. He
Okay.
did not claim his mail. I have it returned.
Got it. Well, that's another 1,000. Jocelyn Denham.
She still has not filed it.
Okay, 1,000. Tom Fath. He was 10 minutes late. That's harsh. Either way, $50.
Okay.
If we make an exception for one, we have to make an exception for
I agree.
everyone.
That's why I wrote the time.
Steve Hollifield, an hour and 2 minutes late, $50. Ernest Summers,
He hasn't turned in. He turned one in on January 17th, but it's the pre-election report because he never turned in a pre-election report, and that's the box he checked. So he has not turned in a annual report.
okay, $1,000. Mike Rosenbaum, 123. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I'm sorry, 6. 6 times 50 is 300. Joey Winsky, 126. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
$450.
$450. Is that all of them? Yes.
So that's all of them from people who filed in 2023. Like a CFA 1, I went back to find open committees that have not been filing, and they should have filed in 2024. And you should have a stack of notices that I mailed out letting them know. A lot of them haven't filed anything at all, but I know we're working on for 2024. So the names are at the top right. And there's a couple in there that I have questions about that I'm not sure. I supplied their forms so you could take a look, because some of them didn't write like a name of a committee. They just put NA across everything, but still signed it.
I think mine are out of order. Wait.
Taylor, the name in the upper right-hand corner is the name of the candidate.
That's the name of who I sent it to, correct?
And you said that they were all notified.
Correct. Every single one was sent by mail except Nathan Patrick. He no longer lives at that address, so I have his email address that I sent it to. Otherwise, I don't know how to reach out to him.
Okay.
And when were these due?
These were due January. Well, some of them were due in 2022, which they didn't do, but we're on this year. So they were due January 17th, 2024.
And none of these have been turned in.
None of these have been sent in.
Okay, so the whole stack, 1,000 each, essentially.
Well, there's a couple. Yes, there's a couple in there though that if you could look at.
Which ones?
It's the ones that are just the campaign finance sheets.
Oh, okay. Take those out.
I think that it sometimes does get, I get where people just don't quite understand this. If you're running for township board, we don't know how much you're going to make if you're elected. I don't know that you know how much you're going to make if you're elected. But I'm guessing you're going to be above the threshold. So you do have to fill these out. And we keep harping and harping and harping to everybody. When the election is over and you don't have to run again for 4 years, come in and disband it. Don't just sit and keep getting hit with these penalties. So I think this will be an eye-opener.
There's just 2 of them then, right?
There should be
These are the 2 she has questions about.
yeah.
Okay. Take Butcher.
Hooper and Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
They left the middle section blank, so I don't know if that count. I mean, I don't know. And this is the only document they turned in. They didn't turn in, any receipts or expenditures or donations, anything like that.
No office saw it.
No bank, no treasurer. I mean,
It's defective in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
All right. So I saw Denise in here again. I have to.
That's just letting her know, that she's. But There's also two in there that I didn't mail the letter out, but I stapled the letter on top. Leo Spence and Margaret Cuson. For Margaret, the middle section isn't filled out, but for Leo, half of it is, most of it is. So I didn't mail them anything yet either.
So it looks like Mr. Spence did put down the name of the bank, and designate himself as the treasurer.
Yes. Does anyone see any problem with this one?
No.
Appears to be basically complete.
What was the other one you said, Margaret?
Yes.
No bank,
Exactly.
no committee. All right.
I would make a motion to consider the three of these defective, Mr. Gardner, Mr. Booker, and Ms. Cuson.
I'd second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so with the exception of Miss Ebert, make a motion that this entire stack here of people incur a $1,000 fine for their defective filings and, well, delinquent filings, with the exception of Miss Ebert.
And David Whitfield's in there too, because I tried again with him.
I would second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now, someone else will have to make a motion for Miss Ebert, since I cannot.
Are you giving her an additional $1,000 fine?
Well,
She's going to be fined regardless. So
Right.
that's what I'm asking.
I just couldn't vote on the previous one.
You're talking.
When I said whole stack, I meant like everything we've covered so far,
Including.
including the orange sheet.
Okay, but the orange sheet doesn't necessarily get a $1,000 fine. Like, I don't want to see Elizabeth Bergeron go from a $50 fine to $1,000.
Oh, okay. I should have worded it better.
That doesn't seem quite right.
So this stack would be 1,000.
Yes.
Plus what we've delineated here and read into the record for
Correct.
the individual fines, with the exception of Miss Ebert. I'll redo that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for that. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Now you guys can do what you want with Miss Ebert.
Okay. So where we broke them down by day, I would make the motion to fine Denise Ebert the $1,000.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. I'm gonna read them off. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher some names.
He's not. I thought we got rid of those because they were no good.
Brian Gray, Scott Bell, James Arnold, Paul Vincent, Nathan Patrick, Jeffrey Sellers, Michael Ducey, Amy Jackson, David Whitfield, Marcus Walker, Rudolph Netzer, Tony Wallace, Brett Parks, Aaron Kirk, and Sherry Morris.
For Leo Spence,
I believe Leo Spence needs to be added to that.
his bank is here. I thought we thought this was okay. Did I miss something?
But he's never filed anything else.
Correct.
That's the issue.
Okay.
And this was from 2022.
I make a motion we add Leo Spence.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now that I've irritated half the county, candidate withdrawals.
I have two. Carrie Kirkham withdrew for Scipio Precinct Committeeman on January 18th, and John Waltz withdrew on February 8th for LaPorte County Council, and that's it.
Okay. And candidate challenges. How many do we have?
Quite a few.
17.
17.
I'll just go off the top then.
Okay.
Lynn Swanson. Let's see.
She's challenging.
She challenged Judy Davis. Miss Swanson here? No. She claims she's not voted in a primary election in Indiana for which she claims party affiliation, has not received chairman certification letter. Ms. Hensman, can you verify that? I'm sorry? Oh, she's a Republican? Mr. Stevens, can you verify that?
But we're not hearing this today, right?
Yeah, Dr. Davis has not voted in a primary election in Indiana ever.
Okay. No, we're not hearing these because the candidates haven't been notified. These are set for next Friday. We have Richard Brzezinski.
I believe that there are 3 separate. This will be one that I will not be hearing. My proxy will attend that meeting to hear this challenge.
Okay. All right. We'll save it all for next Friday. That way you guys don't have to keep coming up. Lisa Ryman Schneider.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Republican, and Rich Brzezinski was Republican. Robert Rankin II is Republican. Republican. Okay. Raymond Maloney. Lee Jones. Lee Ann Jones. Joe Maloney. Is there multiple here? Or just the evidence?
On some of them, they were challenged twice. Like if they were running for precinct committeeman and delegate, things like that.
Okay. Diane Borowski. Sure.
Stevens, Chairman, LaPorte County Republican Party. Excuse me. I would like to withdraw my challenge of Diane Borowski. The issue being there were 2 Diane Borowskis in the county. The Diane Borowski that we looked at is from Kankakee Township and has been a lifelong Democrat. The other lady going by Diane Borowski, her first name is Sharon, is it Cordelia? It's Cordelia Diane Borowski is our actual candidate for that precinct spot. Okay. So there was, if at all possible, would I be able to withdraw that contest?
Have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you so much.
Brent Soller. Finally, Rex Bailey. So, if we could notify, and these are set for next Friday, right?
Yes.
Okay. if they could be notified?
I already mailed it out.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to John Rust opinion.
This has been so interesting because what we've had for the last couple of weeks is 92 county clerks, 92 different election boards trying to figure out how to do things their own 92 different ways. So as excited as we were to get this yesterday, I don't know how much good it's doing us. I've taken it to every legal mind that I know, and they've all had a different opinion. But the gist seems to be that we revert back to the 2 primary rule. So for right now, that's the way it stands. So this has been fascinating to watch, and I'm sure it's going to continue. So I don't think it's over.
Any discussion on that? Is that how you read the order?
Yes, I think it puts it right back to before the
Yeah.
district court ruling. Of the county court.
Okay. Signing of IEC-22.
Well, if I can find it, I'll have you guys sign it. It was in here. So, if you guys have a copy of it, will you say something? And then it says IEC 22 right in the corner. If not, it's sitting on my desk. But basically what it is it's just asking how many voting machines we have, how many electronic poll pads we have, how many VVPATs we have. I have it filled out, and I've signed it. So
Okay.
I think as long as we do this in a public meeting, you're welcome to come over and sign whenever.
Okay.
And
We don't have to vote on that. It's just,
I mean, it's kind of a requirement.
okay, got it.
The other thing that I wanted to discuss, Jim McCalca is no longer on the board, and when I took office in 2021, one of the first things that I did was I went into that elections room and I grabbed our ballot boxes, then I called maintenance. They drilled a second hole, and we put a second lock on those boxes. So I do not have a key to the ballot box. We have a lock and a key for the Republican, a lock and a key for the Democrat. It takes both of these people to get into that box, but they can't get into the room without me. So it's kind of a beautiful little system. But Jim did turn his keys into Taylor, so Taylor has the keys for you, Teresa. But because, again, I don't like the look of anything, I don't want a bad look. So my keys are going to Taylor for the year. So I will not have a key to the room. If you guys need to get into the room for any reason, find Taylor.
Very good.
All right.
All right, board member comments. Who wants to start? How about you start?
I'll start. It's going to be a heck of a year, you guys. I think Brody is no joke. So if you have campaign finance reports to get in, do not be late. I set all kinds of reminders. I have it written on calendars. It's in my phone. Taylor barks at me about a week before and says, hey, don't forget, because I don't want to have to find myself. But I would vote to do that. So I think just, I know it's tough, and I know that with elections, we all get busy. You're out there campaigning, and you're everywhere, and you're scatterbrained, and I get it, but get those reports in.
Thank you. Okay.
I would just like to shout out to a couple of groups, one of which is the voter registration office. When I came over to the county complex to get sworn in, I had the pleasure of meeting Christine and Angela and their fine staff, and I was very impressed with their professionalism and the special challenges that they're going to be facing this year. And I think we all are very well served in this county, officers and voters, by this really great staff. I've also been privileged to work with the League of Women Voters in the last few years, which is a wonderful 104-year-old organization, bipartisan, and I'm happy to see their representative here, and I hope that everybody in the county supports their voter registration efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. I know today was a lot. And if I don't pay my property taxes, my house goes up for tax sale, right? So I'm just trying to enforce the rules. I don't feel guilty about it. I'm going to keep doing it. So please just file your stuff. Not doing this despite anybody. I kind of wore a purple shirt today to be symbolic because that's what this is about. This is just doing what you're supposed to do. And doesn't matter. I want to hold the elected politicians to the same level as John Q. taxpayer. Everyone just does the same thing. No breaks. So, with that, this is going to be an extremely difficult year with this election. A lot of good races going on. We have a really good staff. Like you said, voter registration is top notch. And I couldn't be happier with the people I work with. And I'm really looking forward to the May primary. So thank you. Stay warm. And next Friday at noon to 4. So bring up dinner. With that, I would make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 I told her